Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of our special Halloween edition of Let's Dev. Last episode, we started to work on the basics of our score tech spooktacular. We gave the player the ability to spook children, and gave the children their own personal quirks such as greed and bravery. Today, we continue to mold the world we've begun building with focus on refining our systems and introducing new ones. Most importantly, pathfinding for our children, but also introducing more game-centric features as well. So with our spooky planning done, let's get to the coding! As I said, pathfinding is our main focus for this episode because it's very important that our children abide by certain rules when it comes to movement. Not only do they need to be aware of walls, but I need the children to be guided along certain paths without using actual paths. This is somewhat for aesthetic, as I felt like using paths wouldn't be as organic, and children in general wouldn't conform to following singular lines unless they were forced to. So yeah, pathfinding and funneling are important, not only for the game mechanics sake, but for the overall feel of the game, which we'll get to in a future episode. Now, I know it can be unreliable, but the quickest and best way I knew to achieve some sort of pathfinding was to use GameMaker's MP potential functions. Unfortunately, motion set is too simplistic of a function to use in this manner, so we had to go with something that gave us more options. Using a parent object simply called a void, I placed both walls and funnel objects under said parent. These would act as barriers for the children, restricting their movements in ways that, again, are important to the game in more ways than one. As you can see, it's plainly obvious why MP potential can either be really useful or really annoying to deal with. It took a lot of tweaking with MP potential settings to get the children to, stop running in circles and bouncing between apparent choke points, but eventually I got to a point that I was satisfied with, and so I moved on to some game mechanics. As I mentioned, this is a score attack game, which means that the player is on a time limit to score as much as possible, within the allotted time of course, and so I set up a simple timer, which currently gives the player 90 seconds to do their best. Now that our timer was set up, we needed to set up our score, so I took this time to also improve the candy tossing effect with some speed tweaks, and also added a point system to picking up the dropped candy. Then when the timer hits 0, the game over screen pops up with the player's score and the high score. If the player's score was higher, that becomes the new high score. Pretty simple stuff there. And finally, we had to deal with how scared children affect the rest of the game. Now currently, when the game starts, 10 children are spawned. If a child is scared to their limits, they are no longer interactive and run straight home. Until now, those children simply disappeared from the game, never to be seen from again. However, Sweet Spooks is about balancing the act of obtaining candy from children and scaring them without scaring them too much. I wanted to really drive home that scaring children to their max is a very bad idea, so I added a conditional to the children. If they're returning home because they've got a full bag of candy, new children will show up to replace them. However, if a child is running home scared out of their minds, no child will spawn to replace them, meaning that if the player scares all the starting children immediately, that's it. No more points can be obtained because no new children will appear. And finally, to top things off, I added some random walking speeds to the children, meaning that some will walk faster than others, and scared children now run twice as fast as they walk. And that actually does it for the second episode of our Let's Dev Halloween special. A lot of the session was refinement, which didn't make for very interesting visual content, so to make up for it, we'll be focusing heavily on visuals next episode. But for now, that'll do it for this episode of Let's Dev, so remember that if you like this video or enjoy Let's Dev in general, be sure to hit that like button. If you aren't already subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and be sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. And as always, be sure to leave your spooky thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.